o'clock.
We are recording, so whenever you see it.
Looks like we are live, and it is 9 a.m. on Tuesday, September 1st. I can't believe it's September already, but Tuesday, September 1st. I can't believe it's September already. We're getting somebody's feedback through the speakers. And it's probably mine, just a minute. Sorry. So, anyway, we call the meeting to order. We have all three commissioners on board. We have Mr. Johnson and him in the office with the technical end of it. So, with that, if you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to
The flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it
stands
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Commissioner Cook, on your screen, do you see the public comment backwards?
No,
Okay,
that's right.
all right,
Right side up.
perfect, thank you.
This brings us to our first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have July 28, August 11, August 18. I believe July 28 and August 11 were returned from 2 weeks ago with corrections made. And August 18th is a new minute. So there's no further adjustments, or I'll sign them as I've reported.
Look good to me. No changes.
All right, thank you. I will handle that from here then. As we have said in the past, public comments are welcome anytime that you get a chance. We'll open them as rapidly as we can and try to keep you from waiting very long on the phone. So you can see the number on the screen, or 546-5859 if you're not live. So with that, unless there's something on the phone, Keith?
There's no callers at the moment.
Thank you. We'll move into office business, the approval of payroll and warrants, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Peck, we have 3 fiscal notes this morning. 2 are from August 25th last week when we did not have a meeting and the chair signed those in the board's absence. But we need to act on those this morning to formally ratify them, those 2, and then I'll have a third one that is dated for today. So the first is August 25th, 2020, salary clearing payroll and emergency management payroll. Total amount is $995,012.53. Move for approval as presented. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The second item, also from August 25th, 2020, is fund expenditures, total amount $311,796.38. Move for approval as presented. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Sounds like somebody may have their microphone open too. Third item is September 1st, today, 2020. Fund expenditures, total amount $195,759.16. Move for approval as presented. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That will bring us to, consent agenda unless there's a phone call.
Don't see any yet.
Okay. We have consent agenda 1 through 9 this morning.
Chairman, move for approval of consent agenda, 9 items as presented.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I second with discussions on 7, 8, and 9.
All right. Discussion. First,
Is the CARES Act money, and I was just gonna inquire with Keith that you're gonna be signing off on this. Have we got all of those funds allocated to businesses? And are we just waiting for this to be passed to delegate that money to those businesses?
Yes, more or less. The first round of grant applications were submitted through the weekend. We had about 140 total applications for a total amount requested of a little over 1.8 million through TriDeck. The board has already approved the setting aside of $2 million in round one for the funding of those business grants. And so the request for this resolution really is to expedite the payment of that money to get it sent out to those businesses and get reimbursed through our grant at the State Department of Commerce. So yes, the short answer is we're moving forward. I'll be meeting with TriDeck later this week to make sure that we've got everything in place, and want to get that expedited out to those businesses as quickly as we can. I should, while we're on the subject of the CARES Act itself, point out that the county through TriDeck will receive an additional $440,000, less about a $25,000 management fee that will be added to our available funds for business grants. And also yesterday, the governor announced an additional approximately $160 million that will be distributed to counties. We have not received the amount of our allocation yet, but it will be a definite improvement in the available funds that we have to distribute through either round 2 or potentially a round 3 of business grants to the local business community. We're still working with the HAPO Center on costs related to the site for testing and getting reimbursed for those, as well as the Benton Franklin Health District. Some of the additional funds that the governor is releasing will go directly to health districts. So we will be working with them to make that appropriate allocation, as well as the additional costs that the other county agencies have incurred, which are not particularly material to the total, but I want you to be aware of that as a board. So long-winded answer, I apologize for that, but the short answer is yes, we're maximizing as best we can the dollars to the business community.
So if I heard you correctly, we were allocating 1.1 million out of the first 2 million. Have we got requests for the rest of that 2 million?
We received requests of about 1.8 million of the 2 million. And so there's approximately $200,000 of the first round that will be rolled over and be available in the second round. And if all of the funds are not applied for in the second round, we will bring back a resolution or a decision by the board to perhaps add a round 3.
Because the reason I ask, Keith, is because I've talked to some businesses that have been turned down on the first round. If we're not allocating all the money on the first round, are they going to be eligible then for the second round to be compensated?
It depends on why they were turned down. There are some qualifiers. I'm only aware of 2 applications that were turned down because they did not qualify. I don't know the specific reasons for the qualification or the disqualification yet. I know early in the process, there were some questions about ownership of certain businesses not being held by documented citizens, but there are some limitations, and I can't speak specifically to those particular two examples, but I'd be happy to research that and find out exactly why that occurred. But if they meet the qualifications, yes, they're certainly eligible to apply.
Okay. All righty, thank you. And then moving on to consent item number 8, which is adoption of updated Franklin County travel policy. This is separate from the car allowance
Yes.
policy, correct?
Yes, we had attempted to combine them at the recommendation of the auditor's office, which led to the questions being raised about those two different policies. And because back in May, when we made this change, did not address a requirement of the policy as it's stipulated in there that it has to be considered in its entirety. The auditor questioned the ability to pay those vehicle allowances. So after communication with the board and getting some additional instruction, we've gone back to separating those into two separate policies. There's a travel policy for business travel, and then there's a separate policy, which is 2021-85 for the travel allowances or the vehicle allowances for commissioners and the prosecuting attorney.
Okay, so I talked to the auditor's office earlier this morning about this, and they said they received this yesterday. When it had coordination with Tim Anderson and Tom Westerman, how long, what is coordination? What does that exactly mean? Because if they get it the day before without consultation, what does coordination mean?
Yeah, these were in essence sent to them late. I think they were sent late last week after we had them printed, and it's just a function of meeting the time frame to get them placed on the agenda. I received some communication from Jeff Burkhart in the auditor's office that they were okay with this. That was my understanding. If the board would like more time, or if the auditor's office would like more time, we could bring this back next week. But these cleared up, we published them on today's agenda.
Did you also coordinate with legal?
We've had some pretty extensive discussions with legal. They were the ones that indicated to us earlier, not a disagreement, but some questions about the auditor's recommendation that we make this change. So we've had some coordination with legal, and I don't know if Jen or Sean, they're on the call if they want to jump in here, but I don't think we had a specific legal opinion on these two items.
Okay, so I'm looking at this and moving on to consent agenda 9. This is the travel allowances for officials, which is the reimbursement, correct?
Yes.
And we haven't been reimbursed for the last 3 months, is that correct?
Right, and this language is an attempt to make that possible to do that.
Well, if it ran out and we haven't been, is this not then retroactive pay? If it was not paid on time and it's time sensitive, wouldn't that be classified as retro pay? Because I thought retro pay was a no-no.
Yes, retro pay.
I can answer.
Go ahead, Jen.
Sorry, it would not be retro pay because we have the commissioners that signed that original resolution. I believe it was in April or May, with their intent that you guys do get paid that. We just didn't follow through with the full paperwork, but the intent to be paid is there, and it's the intent to be paid that determines determines whether or not it can be paid and whether or not it's considered retroactive pay. So if somebody made an intent for like salary raises, if somebody said in November, we intend to raise their salary up either 1 or 2%, we're gonna let them debate it out and then we can, apply that starting November retroactively, that would be okay, same idea.
Okay, just trying to get the feel for this retro, and I know it's been a hot topic in the past, and I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around it here, so.
The issue around retro pay typically involves salary type compensation issues, where you would be attempting to pay someone for work that was already performed. This is a little different, where this is a allowance for local travel for certain elected officials, the commissioners and the prosecuting attorney.
And so I also noticed that in the travel package that it is clearly stated that 50 miles to and from the courthouse has to be removed because we've already been paid that stipend.
Yes.
Yes. All right, no further questions.
All right. Hearing no further questions, I'd entertain ask for a vote on consent agendas 1 through 9. All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Passed unanimously. We'll go on to administration. If there's no phone calls, Keith, please.
No callers at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I really covered what I needed to in the administration office business with the CARES Act update, and recognizing that we are getting some additional funds and we're making every effort to get those out as quickly as we can to businesses. One of our challenges that we're dealing with is these are done on a reimbursement basis, and so we will probably have to transfer some money from one fund to the current expense fund to be able to pay these up front and then seek reimbursement. It's a bit of a cash flow issue. The county has to expend those funds first and then seek reimbursement. But I think we've got a plan worked out with the auditor's office to make that fairly seamless and make that work. And just also update, we are still moving forward with working on refinancing our jail bonds, and auditor's office has been providing information to bond advisor, and I think you'll be seeing that here in the next few weeks as well. That's all I have that required your attention. One thing I guess I can make a statement about now is that we've had some discussion because of the nature of these meetings not being in person. All of us anticipated back in the spring that this would be a temporary inconvenience. And then as Commissioner Cook pointed out, it's already September and we still don't have in-person meetings going on. We have now the capability to add video so that each of the commissioners would be visible on the screen to the viewers of the meeting, as well as the audio. It's a platform called WebEx. You probably have used it in some of your other board meetings. The Board of Equalization is going to be using it. The Planning Commission potentially will be using it. It's being set up in the commissioners' meeting room so that we have that capability. It's a little bit imperfect on our end in running the technology, but it does work well and is pretty seamless to the user on the other end, to the viewer. If the preference of the board is to move to both video and audio, you would use a camera on your device that you connect to the meeting, whether it's a telephone, a cell phone, or your laptop or a tablet device that has a camera, or our IS group can set up a camera for your computer. That way you could be visible to the public, and it's not just a blank view of the commissioners meeting room with myself and the empty desk up here. That's completely a choice. There's not a legal requirement that we provided. We're meeting the legal requirements for meetings currently. But if the board would prefer to have video capability, then it would probably be helpful following this meeting for you to state your where you are and let us set up an example call so that you can kind of see how it works and what it looks like. But that's kind of up to the board of your particular preference.
I'm having a hard time coming up with a reason for needing it. I don't expect this in-person meeting to last, forever. And we know that we've got capabilities today, once we were able to sit down in the meeting room again. I think it's just a short glitch in the recording side of it. So I don't see a reason for it personally.
I would add that, we went through a transition trying to get a system that was reliable, and we had all kinds of meeting delays, cancellations, and other issues that I'd very much not like to go through again. I personally am of the opinion that we're not going to be in this particular phase and shutdown as much longer as other people think. I think we're going to be back in meeting in the not too distant future. I'm being careful not to put a date on that because I don't really know. It's just an opinion, but we're more than compliant with the law at this point. I have participated in similar meetings with many other groups, and oftentimes you'll see a photo of the individual rather than the individual, and that doesn't accomplish anything more than what we have now. And I think the last meeting I saw with, maybe it was the health district, there were 4 or 5 out of 3 or 4 dozen where you saw images. The rest of them were phone numbers. So it seems to me if there's any expense involved and any risk of functional issues, I don't see the pressing need to do it. I don't think that the public is in any way going to be harmed by not having to look at my face. It's probably a benefit to them.
It's anytime you add some technology, you're adding some risk of the technology not working as reliably as you would expect. There are inherent risks to that. I would say at the same time, I want you to know that this is available. If at some point in time you decide that we want to add this to commissioner meetings, we can do so. When the planning commission meets, for example, quite often they're conducting public hearings, and we've had several months of delay in some needed public hearings. And so the technology that we've acquired does have some cost with it. It's not particularly expensive, but it's fairly reliable. But as I said, nothing is 100%. So if at some point in the future you decide that you want to try this out, our IT staff, myself, and Karen can help walk us through a demonstration of it to show you how it works.
Well, Keith, this is Commissioner Didier. I've had requests from the public about being able to see the commissioners during the meeting. In fact, I just had another one yesterday. So I am very curious as to why we're trying to cover our not being here or whatever the problem is that we might be for choosing to do here as far as the meeting goes. But people have requested that we be visible during the meetings, and it's numerous. And I think that we should try to accommodate the people that we're serving.
Yeah, I think that's a point well taken. I defer to the majority will of the board. I don't have a
Hey, Keith,
personal hunt.
Keith, this is Commissioner Peck. Excuse the interruption, but I wanted to add a couple of thoughts. First, City Council of Pasco serves roughly, 70,000 or more of the people of Franklin County, the vast majority. And they operate a similar fashion that we are. They don't have live video on all the council members. It is lawful. Interesting that I've not received any contact from anybody saying that they felt that video coverage of the commissioners was somehow essential. But to me, all of that is really pretty minor stuff. It's administrivia. You said something that caught my attention, though, and that is the Planning Commission and their ability to hold public hearings. And it sounded like you said that was holding up land use actions or other Planning Commission business. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, there are some special.
And let me ask at the same time, is it a requirement for video of the Planning Commission members to be available for a lawful public hearing to take place? My understanding is the answer to that is no.
That's correct.
No,
So
my
then-
understanding is they're using they're using the video on the people that are testifying. So that way the people sitting on the board can get a full view of them for transparency purposes and it just gives them a better idea of, full testimony.
Yeah.
Right.
The way we would in a
Is that
courtroom.
requirement? Jim?
No,
I mean, when
It's-
we do public hearings, people actually sometimes will send in a written comment and will never lay
Right,
eyes on the individual.
right. It's not a requirement, so if people don't want to be on camera, that's not gonna be a make or break thing. It's just an option that they are doing for people.
And Commissioner and Jen,
Right.
it may be a distinction without a difference, but in our Board of Commissioner meetings, we typically take public comment without dialogue or interaction. A public hearing, when the public is speaking, is a little bit different in that, not that it's dialogue, but they're speaking to a specific action of the matter in front of the Planning Commission when they're taking public testimony. It's a little bit of a distinction between those public hearings and the public comments that we receive during a Board of Commissioners meeting.
So I would agree it is a distinction and it is without a difference. The input is the input. If we think that we're going to be going back in public meetings or in-person meetings in the not too distant future, and I do, and there's cost and complexity that risks having more meeting problems, then I'm inclined to say we don't need to do it. But if there's a compelling reason to do it, I'm not strongly opposed to it either. I've seen an awful lot of meetings electronically in the last few months, and I would say the vast majority of the participants in the majority of the meetings have been a display of a phone number or a static picture, not an individual. And if somehow someone thinks that reading body language is an art that they pursue and that's going to add to it, then maybe it'd be just as well if they make a request for an in-person meeting, which can be done with masks and 6 feet of distance. So it isn't that we aren't available. Anyway, in my mind, not a huge issue. And I haven't heard a compelling reason to make a change in the system that we finally have the kinks worked out of. That's my primary issue.
Keith, this is Sean Sand, if I could add some comments.
Certainly.
I think one of the issues that has been brought before the board before is a push to have in-person meetings with limitations. And maybe something worth considering is now that our county, Benton County, and similarly situated counties have been allowed to have their phases essentially modified to allow for additional allowances, such as additional in-person public attendance of restaurants and other businesses, increasing capacities. And maybe it might be an appropriate time to coordinate with our health department on their recommendations and seeing if we can get a modification to the current proclamations that would allow for such in-person meetings or with limitations, as was mentioned. If we're able to be out in a public place such as a large box store with masks and other protective measures that are put in place, maybe now is the time to make that pitch for a modification, as right now we have to wait until we are in phase 3. And I think I share the comments. I'm hopeful that we are going to be able to move in that direction here in the near future, but maybe that's one of the modifications that we can petition as a county to allow for, which would be to allow for our planning department and other meetings to occur with limitation. Again, we have to make sure that there is still the public participation element as what is currently laid out, but maybe that is something that would be of interest to the board to at least pursue.
Thank you. I think that's well worth considering.
Okay, any further comments? I know the only, I was on a meeting yesterday, as was Keith with Wasac, and there was 60+ people signed into the meeting, and there was, I think at the most 6 actual videos. The rest were either just phone numbers or everything was shut off. So, you know, it's not a great need. In all the public comments, we've had, to my knowledge, we only had 1 person ask for it out of 90,000 our population. So I am, at this point, I think we're close enough to getting back into meetings without having to start a new system. Any further comments? Okay, have anything on the phone, Keith?
No, sir.
All right. Anything else for the good of the board? Anybody?
No other comments.
No other comments?
All right. You still feel you need us to hold on for a few minutes, or are we?
No, I think we're done.
Have the marching orders at this time?
Yep.
All right. Okay, everybody, thank you for today. Thanks for participating, and we will be adjourned.